Hello, I'm Annabel Brodie-Smith, Communications Director of the Association of Investment Companies. There are now 18 Dividend Hero investment companies with at least 20 years of consecutive annual dividend increases. Of these, an exceptional 8 investment companies have increased their dividends for 50 or more consecutive years, a remarkable achievement. These dividend heroes are no strangers to difficult times, having raised their payouts to investors through the high inflation of the 1970s, recession of the 1990s, and the global financial crisis in 2008. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by 3 Dividend Hero investment company managers whose companies have increased their dividends for more than 50 consecutive years. I've got here William Meaden, manager of JPMorgan Claverhouse Investment Trust, Jabe Curtis, manager of City of London Investment Trust, and Craig Baker, manager of Alliance Trust. Right, on to the questions. Jabe, how have you achieved so many years of dividend growth?
Well, we have a portfolio with a core of consistent companies which have been able to grow the dividends consistently, but undoubtedly the investment trust structure has been crucial as well in difficult years for dividends across the market, such as you had at the start of the pandemic when there were widespread dividend cuts. We've been able to dip into our revenue reserves to keep our dividend growth going. We had to do that for 2 years in 2020 and 2021 before recovery of dividends occurred, and we were able to cover our dividend again. So revenue reserves are a key advantage that investment trusts have.
Absolutely, in very tough times through the pandemic. Craig, how have you increased your dividends over this time period?
Yeah, well, I think the key is that we've got a very long-term approach and we have a multi-manager approach, but each of our stock pickers are thinking about finding companies with a competitive advantage or intellectual property advantage that means that they've got a moat. Essentially, they can produce strong free cash flow and that free cash flow will grow over time. And so through a long-term approach, we feel very confident that we can get companies that are throwing off rising dividends over time. And again, with the investment trust structure, we're able to make sure that even in those years where it hasn't increased on the underlying companies, the dividend income, we can still pay out a positive increase in dividends from Alliance Trust itself. So those together, I think, are the key as to how we've been able to do it.
Thanks very much. And William, how have you achieved so many years of dividend growth?
Well, Claverhouse has always invested in a diversified portfolio, some 60 to 80 stocks invested solely in the UK market. At the moment, it's predominantly invested in the FTSE 100 stocks, and those stocks tend to be very good in terms of cash generation, very strong balance sheets, and consequently very good dividend payers. And so in good times, the portfolio generates its own income. And like the other investment trust managers, we call upon in more difficult times the reserves that we've tucked away to smooth that dividend income for our shareholders.